right up and forget where I'm at. He's right behind this bush right there. Hey there, little guy.
Hello and welcome to, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already.
I'm going to try to get this between gusts of wind. It's about 6 p.m. June 26, 2018. I'm trying to get in the habit of doing these clips every so often, just so I got kind of a benchmark. I can look back and see where things are. Sometimes you move something or build something and you kind of forget when you did it. Let's see, anything that way? Nothing's really changed. Bus seats, haven't done much with them. This is where I think I want to put my first workshop. Those strings have been out there long enough that the strings are faded. Hasn't happened yet. At the moment, the motorcycle is down for tires. I think the tires are at the post office, and the irony is I work for the post office. I don't work for the post office that my mail goes to. So, since I'm always working lately, I can't take time off to go get my own mail. Irony. Projects. Part of this fixing the motorcycle thing, I made this contraption. Honestly, it doesn't look any better in the light. I took some parts of bus seats, badly welded them together, and that holds the front wheel up so you can roll the bike into it and it just stands there. And then this I did a slightly better job because I tried a little bit harder. More bus seat parts, again welded together. What I do is I can jack up the bike with the floor jack that I bought for the truck. So roll the bike in, the tire holder, the tire chock, whatever you want to call it. The bike then stands up by itself without the side stand. Then I can jack the bike up, just kind of keep a hand on it. Once the bike is up off the ground, I put this work stand underneath the frame, let it down, and it sits there quite nicely. That gets the back wheel off the ground. Then I can do some work on the back, like change the flat tire. Truck, I've been driving the truck every day. It's been doing well. I've been doing experiments, and if I don't drive 85 miles an hour, I get better gas mileage. That's not a big shock, but I'm actually getting right around 18 miles per gallon if I can keep it below 75, and that's not too bad. So I've been doing that lately. I got 3 tanks in a row that are 17 and 18, so that's helping a little bit. Gas right now is about $3.09 a gallon, I think, where I'm buying it. Mr. Bunny just had to make his appearance. You may not have caught that, little bunny rabbit just ran right across to right there. Hiding behind the bush, here he comes. It's funny, they'll forget where you are and they'll come right up to you almost. He is moving right in about there. He's pretty little. Get a better shot without scaring them away. If not, oh look at that, here we go. He's gonna come right up and forget where I'm at. He's right behind this bush right there. Hey there, little guy. I think they just know that they're faster than I am. He's pretty little though. How about that? You can't cue these guys, they just show up. Oh, look at that. That's the epitome of a comfortable rabbit if you lay right down flat in the shade. It's about 105 degrees today, so any shade looks pretty good, I'll bet. I've never seen a rabbit do that here. That's hilarious. Alright. Truck is doing pretty good. Metal roofing that I bought for the camper shell project when it was on the truck. I've never used it. It's still sitting there. I've got 10 sheets of the stuff. It's going to get used somewhere this year. I just haven't decided exactly where, and I hate to waste it. Camper shell, another one of the success stories from this last year. I lived in that on the back of the truck while I was working in El Paso for, I'm going to say 2 or 3 months. I don't remember exactly anymore. And then I'd come home on the weekends. And then once it was here, once I got the job closer, I built this little box, which basically is the same size as the truck bed, only I went longer. Made myself a little porch just to be funny. Mostly now it's 8 feet long, so I figured, well, there's no sense cutting off and wasting a foot, because what are you going to do with it? So I just did that. So then I was sleeping in here anyway, because in the winter this was a lot warmer than the bus. I put up a little bit of insulation, not very much, and I was quite cozy in there. And then just a couple weeks ago, I decided, last week before, something like that. I was wondering what's going to jump out at me here. I moved a lot of my storage stuff out to here and put the bed back in the bus. So this helps me a lot. And no, I've never bothered to make a latch for the door, so I just keep the rock there. Bicycle has a flat tire. I am going to fix that maybe this weekend. I like riding around out here. Let's see, moving on. This is the 210-gallon water tank I use when I go to town to get water. That's a 2-inch by 20-foot hose that I use. The place where I get the water has, actually that one's covered up, so we'll just show you this one. The place where I get the water has a 2-inch fitting like that. So shortly after I got the tank and the hose, I started dreaming up this thing. It's now actually functional, just recently. So, short story, that's an IBC tank, holds 275 gallons. So, I can have the tank in the truck, park there, open the valve, the water runs into here, through the pipes, over to there. Alright. The rest of this is for future expansion, so I'm not going to talk too much about that, but the idea was, to me it made more sense to overbuild what I call the manifold first, then I can add tanks to it pretty easily by just cutting off a cap, putting on a fitting, dropping a tank there. And then each of these side spurs has a valve on it. This valve shuts off the main feed. Okay, so I've got 4 like that. Number 5 is where the IBC is hooked up. And again, they all got valves. From there, number 6 and then the end spur are not used, so they're just capped off. I didn't put a valve on there because those valves are 15 bucks a piece, and I started running out of money. From there, we do a couple adapters. There's a whole video on this. I'm not going to get too far into this, but follow the blue hose. This is a little bit of a kludge because I'm still a work in progress, but it is working. Blue hose comes up to this little orange pump. The pump is here because that's where the battery bank is. It just made sense to run shorter wires and a longer hose. It seems to work out just fine. Turn on the switch here, the pump will start up, and that's it. Now it's got pressure. Just leave it off so that if I do get a leak, if the rabbit chews through it or whatever, I don't have a constant leak. Because if that leaked and the pump was running, it would drain my whole tank and then the pump would run dry and eventually die. So that would be bad. If you remember earlier videos, there was a washer and dryer out here. I've moved those inside the bus now. Solar panels are probably the other one of the big success stories for the year. This is 3 100-watt kits from Harbor Freight. They're typically about $200 a piece, or 150 if you get them on sale. They're not very expensive panels, they're not very good panels, but they are cheap. And they're typically readily available, so if I decide to add more to it, or if I break a panel, I just go in and I buy some more. I've never used their warranty service. I've had people say they're actually pretty good to work with. So let's see, generators. This is generator number 1. That's the one I took apart thinking I could swap the motor. It had been smoking pretty bad. Oil rings are worn out. The generator itself still worked before I took it apart. It probably doesn't work now. Generator number 2. Okay, number 1 is a 4,000 watt Flagstaff brand from Northern Tools. Alright. Number 2 is also, actually it's a Northern Tools Power Horse 9,000 watt. This can do 220 pretty nicely. This one runs the electric dryer just fine. No problem at all. I can run everything off of that at the same time. Number 3 is a replacement for number 1. It's an exact duplicate. Totally fine. I've been testing with this. This one will run the washing machine just fine, so I don't need the big one to run the washing machine. I've got an adapter so I can run off of the round connector. It's a 110/220 20 amp connector. So I've got a RV style 20 amp to 30 amp adapter, and I made a special cord to plug the dryer into that. The little 4,000 watt generators will not run the dryer with the heat on, but they will run it in air mode. That's useful out here because at 110 degrees in the daytime and zero humidity, I can line dry my clothes in about half an hour, and then I just throw them in the dryer, fluff them for a few minutes, and I'm done. So now that I've got that figured out, what I'll be doing on the next load, I'll start the generator, run the loads, shut the generator off, wait an hour, have everything line drying, and then start the generator up, towards evening or whatever, and then fluff everything, and then we're done. So that's going to save me a lot. I only run the generator sporadic now because I've got the solar panels and I don't really need the generator very often. So that once a week where I'm doing laundry, I take advantage of that, hook up a battery charger to the batteries that are in there. I've got 4 big deep cycle batteries from Walmart. They're about $100 a piece. They get charged up off of the solar panels, and then I just hit them with a generator once in a while to top them off. Before I had the tank over there, this was my main source of drinking water. I'd go into town, fill these jugs up as often as I could, and never really ran out of water. I always had enough. Then I started buying trash cans, and I'm using the trash cans to store extra water. So if I'm going to go into town anyway to get water, if I've got 5 gallons of water left, I would dump it in one of these, and eventually I'd fill it up. Recent project, I hooked a garden hose between this one and this one. These are 45 gallons each, and that garden hose just interconnects the two of them. You can kind of see it down there. It goes from one and loops right back to the other one. And that way, one example was I was running the pump, siphoning out of one of these trash cans, and that was my water source for doing laundry until I got the manifold put together. And one trash can wasn't quite enough, and so I started thinking about it. So when I joined the two together, then I had plenty of water to do a load. All right. I was also taking showers coming from here because the water that comes through the pump, I got a T down there. One goes back towards the bus, one goes this way. Over here is my outdoor shower, complete with sink sprayer, which works fantastically. Normally I would have a black plastic tub I could put here, and I'd stand in the tub, and then when I'm done I just throw the water out in the bushes. Haven't set up a drain yet. I just store my buckets here so they don't blow away. Quick notes while I'm thinking of it. Stuff that is handy when you're off grid out in the desert. A good assortment of shovels. Post hole digger I've used a lot. The pick and the big black wrecking bar, that's a 16-pound bar. That worked for breaking up rock layers if I ran into them. But for instance, the windbreak, I just dug holes with the post hole digger, dropped a 2x4 into it, and then packed them back down, and that's worked out really well. Even in the sand, it doesn't really move. And it got better when I added the shower here because the leg going this way kind of braces everything. And again, you can kind of see the blue hose coming across. I buried it just so I wouldn't trip over it, and then it comes up the other side. Let's see. That's pretty much it for out here. Yeah, not too much more. These bushes are looking really nice right now. I don't think that's so much from, I've been running my gray water out to a hole and it just kind of soaks in. For anybody environmental, if you were doing a traditional septic system, basically your gray water would go out a drain field. This, you can see the live sprouts inside, they're growing just fine. So any bush that's close enough might be pulling a little bit of water from here, but I only do it once a week. But you can kind of see a water line that fills up, and within a day it's dry, it's completely soaked in. A couple of these ends I didn't have capped off right away, and so there was water in the pipe, and I saw rabbits a few times drinking from the water in the pipe. And then I started getting algae growing, not because of the rabbits, but just because of the sun. So I capped off the pipes, and then I felt bad about taking away the water, so I found a paint roller tray. So I stuck it out there with a rock in it so it doesn't blow away, and I fill it up a couple times a week. And I have seen some rabbits drink out of it, also the neighbor's dogs, but you probably can't see it, but there's a rabbit right behind the bush over there again. Considering this is all one take, that might be the same rabbit. There he goes. Oh, this would be great if he goes over for the water. I swear, this is not scripted and these are not robots. Why didn't I grab the big lens, right? Yeah, he's going for a drink. That is awesome. Simple workbenches I made, I made two like this, quarter sheet, OSB, legs, minimal bracing. They aren't very strong, but they're good enough. This one I did a lot better job. I braced up the bottoms of the legs, and I stand on that regularly. You know, I've been using it to look up on top of the roof of the bus to plan out some upgrades and stuff like that, and it's rock solid. Last year, my first month or so out here, it was very hot. I hadn't really gotten used to it yet. And I always was leaving the back door open, just trying to get some breeze to blow through the bus. It was just very hot. Ironically, it's hotter now, but I'm more used to it, I think. And finally one day, I'm like, you know what, I need a screen door for the back, but I didn't have a lot of cash. So I looked at it, I'm like, well, windows are meant to come out, you know, and so if you look at a seal like this, the idea is you pull the inner part of this bead out, and then the rubber kind of collapses, and you should be able to get it out. Well, I'm not smart enough to get it out without breaking it. So I did break that window. It's all in one piece, but it's fractured. Well, I was like, well, whatever. I wasn't going to put it back in anyway. So I got it out, put the screen in by basically a combination of duct tape and some screws, I think. Got it to the point where it stays in there and it's basically sealed so bugs don't come through it. And I swear, not a week later we got into monsoon season, and all of a sudden I had water coming in through that. So then I had to come up with an idea here, and that actually works out pretty good. I just have a coat hanger going up. I could probably even do this one-handed. Put it down. Keeps the rain out. If it's not raining, I put it up and I get some ventilation going through it. And there's our rabbit friend again. I'm glad rabbits aren't potentially dangerous, aside from rabies. They've been a lot of fun to have around. Makes it interesting. If you get a bus and it's got the seats in it, a lot of people will just take out the seats and throw them away. Well, I've made a lot of little stupid projects with the parts from the bus seats. I didn't realize it was going to rain as much as it did when I first got here, so I had stacked up all the cushions, which had double layers of vinyl because they'd been recovered once, and all the foam, which I had all kinds of ideas that would have been handy to have, if nothing else, just for an outdoor bench or something like that. And then it rained and all the foam got just soaked, so I ended up throwing all that away, which was a really disgusting job because 20-year-old bus seats leaking water was pretty disgusting. So, anyway, I didn't have anywhere to properly store them, but maybe I would have tried tarping them or something. But the metal has been useful. It's free. You know, I already had it, and I've done metalworking in the past, so I looked at that as a valuable resource. This is the Tinker Shed. I forget. 12 feet wide by 24 feet long, I think. These were, I think, 6 feet apart. Might still happen this year, but it's a lower priority right now. The laundry shed was going to be on the other side of the bus. That's pretty much been canceled, I think, now. Once I realized I had enough room in the bus for the washer and dryer by putting a lot of the storage stuff out here. Alright, let's go look inside. Oh, buses are not made to be locked, so this isn't even an original idea. I've seen a few people do this. Just put a locking hasp on there. Careful, this is an aluminum strip that drills easy. This is steel that drills a lot harder. If you get these from Walmart, Chinese made screws are very, very easily broken. You can kind of see one there that broke off, so I had to adjust my spacing a little bit. Twice I had the wind blow this shut in the night to where it actually got stuck and I had to go out the back door. So I taped a little magnet on there. Hasn't happened since. One day I got tired of stumbling around in the dark. This is before I knew there were snakes out here, so I took a yard light, taped it to the door handle. At least I can see where the door is in the dark. These mirrors are aimed outward. I shave out here some mornings. It's just nice to shave as the sun comes up. Alright, inside. This becomes my towel rack. And this is where I store all my motorcycle riding gear and other stuff since I don't drive the bus. That's our co-pilot. Let's see, bus seat parts. I mentioned that a couple times. These shelves, the brackets, are legs from the bus seat. There's one part that's the right shape on each seat. So I think I did nine of those brackets. I used one part off of 9 seats. That's just a sheet of OSB ripped into 16-inch thirds. So I got 3 shelves out of one sheet. That really helped a lot. It just got one more spot to get stuff off the floor. You know, so I got all my clothes on one side, a bunch of my quote-unquote office stuff on the other side. So this was the main editing workstation. It just uses too much power to run everything off of batteries. It's running a Dell workstation class processor computer thing. Hard drive arrays, stack of hard drives. Mostly it's just where I throw extra stuff now. Laser printer. That will run off the battery bank, off the inverter. I've done that a few times. I don't print very much anymore. This is where all the editing happens now. I like running on laptops out here because basically the laptop has its own battery built in, so even with the inverter not turned on, you can run for a while, and then you turn the inverter on, let it recharge, shut the inverter off, save your batteries, and you can kind of go like that for a few hours. This is switches that came out of an old service truck, and my stereo. Speakers hooked up to the stereo. That's off of, your basic truck speakers that go behind the seat. Like 20 bucks at Walmart. They sound okay. Most of the white shelves I've gotten rid of except for what I call my pantry. And I built these. These are almost the same as the design of the workbench outside. I don't know if these are full length. I think they're six feet long on these, 24 inches wide, 2x4s. Set them up so that they went over the wheel humps. I've actually got 2 microwaves and a 40-cup coffee maker. I don't make that as often anymore. I picked up this little 4-cupper. That's perfect for the morning, and that doesn't kill my battery bank. I can run that off of my inverter, make coffee in the morning, and we're good to go. Gatorade because we're in the desert. I don't have a sink set up in here yet, but that's close because now I've got the plumbing set up in here. So usually I just wash the dishes in the tub and then throw it outside. This is a thing called the Aquabot. I helped them out on their fundraising on Kickstarter. I've got a couple of these. It's really slick because you pump it up, hold down the button, you got, basically running water. You can wash a lot of dishes on 1 liter of water that way without wasting a bunch. This is the plastic tub I was talking about for taking showers. That's from Walmart. I think it was about 10 bucks. The way they labeled it, it's what you would give your kids to put all their toys in, so at the end of the night they can put all their toys back in the tub and you push it to the corner. Right? I've also heard them called party tubs, where you could leave these out on the patio. Everybody throws their drinks and ice in there, and then keeps your stuff reasonably cold, kind of thing. It just happens to be about the right size to stand up in. And I took a piece of black flexible pipe, made essentially a hula hoop. That's 2 shower curtains on there. One goes halfway around and then the other one comes around. And I just put the tub on the floor, drop the curtain down inside of it, and then I've got the second sink sprayer in here. And I can use that for taking a shower in here. I was really excited to take my showers outside, but a lot of days it's just windy, and even when it's 95 degrees, that wind is cold when you're wet, so it's nice to take a shower in here. Also, after dark, if you go outside with a flashlight, you'll have every bug in 40 acres following your light. So it's just kind of nice to be inside and not in the wind and not with all the bugs. So, and I find a lot of times I don't want to take a shower before it gets dark because it's still really hot. So it's just kind of nice to let it cool down a little bit, then take the shower. The sun shining on that water tank is warming up the water, even with the silver tarp out there. The water is not cold. If it at its lowest, it's about 100 degrees. So I don't heat the water. That's just, I use the water as it comes out of that. Works out just fine. Piles of tools until I get them situated a little bit better. Oh, yeah. This is the washer and dryer. So I actually plumbed a real washing machine hot and cold connector. The drain goes out the window and then hooks up to that black plastic pipe you can see going out. That's actually the same size of black pipe as this, right? So the orange cord is for the dryer. What I did is, instead of trying to adapt the dryer cord, that 3-prong or 4-prong cord, I just opened up where that cord connects and I just hooked up this 4-conductor 30 amp wire, whatever you call it. Basically 220 Romex. At some point I mentioned this on a video, but I forget. I'm not an electrician, so don't quote me on this, but it's a pretty serious looking wire. So this is set up for a 30 amp connector. Out of the light, there we go. So this is a 30 amp connector, and then I got from Amazon a RV style 30 amp to 20 amp connector, and it's 4-lug. So I can run the dryer off of the little inverter, or I'm sorry, the little generator with no heat. As soon as I hit the heat, it kills the generator. Just no, I'm not going to do it. Since I only do laundry once a week, this made a really good spot to put my little propane stove. Metal, fire resistant, seems pretty good as long as I don't get the curtain too close from the shower. We're good to go. Sink faucet, one of the videos I had this set up outside. It was probably set up for less, I don't think it was 3 days. It was working, I had it plumbed in, and then I moved what it was connected to, and then I'll put it up again later. I didn't have a sink for it, it was just kind of shooting water into a bucket. So there's that. I don't use these very much, but they actually work really well. It's 110 volt LED work lights. They use about 10 watts each, something ridiculously small. Great for if you're doing something at night, but like I said before, these will attract bugs like you would not believe. So they don't get used very much. An assortment of welding clamps. I do have a MIG welder. It's down behind all this stuff. I use it every now and then. Deep freeze. Had a loss of thought there. Deep freeze, even with the power off all day, it's not cold, but it's cool. I can usually have a dozen eggs and an 8-pack of frozen burritos and eat them before they go bad. That's my goal, is just to get them 8 before they go bad. My electrical system right now is made up of a series of plug-in strips and extension cords. It's not ideal, but for instance, all of my power chargers for the cordless tools, I have them all plugged into a power strip. If I'm not using it, I turn them off because every one of these uses a little bit of power even if there's no battery in it. So I can shut off all of these in one. One of these shuts off the deep freeze. One goes down the side of the bus. So I'm probably overloading some of these, but so far so good, right? Been over a year now. There was a video about the bunny blaster. Here it is waiting for its next project. That was the light that I put on the front of the motorcycle. That lasted the first day. I blew the fuse, the whole bike, all the electrics went out. It was very dark. Fortunately, it happened close to home. I rode home in the dark that day. Odds and ends, tinker stuff, projects waiting to happen, motorcycle suspension parts. 2 microwaves, one there, one up there. It's good to have a spare. Part of that is when I had the truck camper, I had the little one in the truck camper and a separate inverter just for that. Because I don't have water running in here except for the shower and the laundry, I never set up drinking water in here yet. So what I do when I go to town with the truck tank, when I first get home, I refill all of my water containers, and so that's my drinking water. I run that through the Brita filter before I drink it. That way it's, about as clean as it's going to get. The town water is technically safe to drink anyway that we're getting. And my tanks are fairly new and fairly clean. And so I figure if I offload from the tank into one of these that's supposed to be for drinking water, and then I filter it before I drink it, that's about as good as it gets. So I just keep that handy. And I find, and this is why I haven't set up a sink in here. I can fill from that to a gallon pitcher really quickly. If you fill up a gallon pitcher in your sink, it feels like frickin' forever. So I kind of like doing it this way because I can fill the gallon up really quick. Now, boom, I've got a gallon of water. I can use it for when I'm making oatmeal. I can use it for washing dishes. I can run it through the Brita. I fill up the Brita and then I make the coffee. This is almost better. Soon, though, what I want to do is run a spur off of that blue PEX line that's over by the washer, probably under the bus again, come up on this side, set up that sink, and I'm also wanting to set up one of the whole house water filter systems and just have a dedicated tap for that I can fill up drinking water, and then I'll not have to use the Brita anymore. I am looking forward to that. Also, at the moment, I don't have a switch in here to turn on or off the water pump. So if I need running water, I have to walk outside to where that switch is, turn it on, do what I'm doing, turn it off again. So, if I take a shower, I walk out there, turn on the switch. Hasn't been a big burden yet, but it's kind of on the back burner because I'm looking at doing a bus remodel. And the first year, I'm at the end of the first year now. I started in May, so I'm like coming up on the end of my 14th month, basically. So this was all just good enough to live in because I brought the bus out here with a load of stuff. I had the motorcycle in the bus. I rode the motorcycle back to Austin, 500 miles. I did that in one shot, one day. That was brutal. Yeah, I guess I'll sit down for a minute. So then it was like, I think 2 or 3 truckloads of stuff with the pickup to bring everything else out here, including I had to bring haul the motorcycle back in the truck then. But that was the only way I could do that with, being by myself. Bring the bus out here, had stuff in it, leave the bus, take the motorcycle back to Austin. See, the first half of the video, you missed all this hand waving. Look, I'm wearing a shirt. Y'all should be happy about this. So, yeah, 2 or 3 truckloads of stuff from Austin to get everything out here. And I had about 2 or 3 days on the ground here before I started my job, which was in El Paso, which is about 100 miles one way from here. So there wasn't a lot of, like, virtually no time for anything nice. It was just, when I first brought the bus out, I took the seats out. I was out here for almost a week, and then so I took a week of vacation, got the bus out here, took the seats out, and then found this site, which actually originally was about 100 yards that way. Turned out that was a low point, and when it started raining and flooding, I was right in a stream bed basically, which didn't occur to me because this is the desert. You don't think about rain in the desert. But we're coming into monsoon again, so we'll start seeing some pretty good rains here, which is also why we have so much vegetation. It's quite amazing when you think about it. So anyway, so I took a week, got the bus out here, got the seats out, and that's about it. I didn't do anything to the bus. A lot of it in the first few months was just flashlights with magnets that stuck to the ceiling. That's how I lived. These shelves are a huge improvement. The bed is made out of OSB and 2x4s, and I made that, one, to fit the twin size memory foam mattress that I had in Austin, and 2, I've set it up quite high. You can see it's really high. I could put a bunch of storage totes underneath it, so it's way higher than it needs to be. But I made it so I could take advantage of the space underneath. And pretty much from then until now, not every day, every week, but there would be little projects where I would just say, okay, what's one thing I can do to make life just a little bit easier for me? Some of it was, reactionary, like the vent above me. School buses have 2 vents that are emergency exits. Well, when it was really hot, I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice to open that vent and just have the air going out? Because I've spent time in RVs. I used to sell RVs on a sales lot, and that's one of the best things ever is to open the vent on an RV, let all the hot air go out before you turn the air conditioning on. It makes a big difference. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I'll open up the vent. Well, it's a 20-year-old bus that's probably been in Texas its whole life. That vent is made out of plastic. The plastic was stuck to the rubber seal. So when I give it a little bump, it just shattered. Bits of plastic just went everywhere, and I had this big gaping hole in my roof. Yeah. Also, the one in the back is broken, but I haven't messed with it too much yet. I just put some duct tape on that and called it good. But this one, it was just shattered. I'm like, okay, yeah. So one of my first projects was to make a very bad, I made a little tower out of OSB, just a little, like a doghouse almost, and cut some holes in it for vents, stapled some screens up there, and that leaked. Didn't do a very good job. So just recently here, I took some of the corrugated, oh, that's right, yeah. I had 10 sheets of corrugated roofing. I used one on the roof. So I made kind of a shell over top of the wooden one I made. I think that's going to do better. So, but it is nice. It does work. If you do a school bus conversion, you got to figure out how to get, either have working vents or go to an RV style vent to cover that hole so that you can open it and get the air to flow through. There's a product called Max Air. It's because like you got the old style RV vents that you crank them up and the little lid comes up and then it's got a screen and the air blows right. Well, if you forget to close those when you drive, or if the wind is just really strong, those things will bend and then you can't close them again. So if you get the Max Air, it's kind of got a scoop over it that protects it, so you can leave the vent open and drive and it won't break it off. So that was actually what I had originally thought of doing, was something like that. But then I thought about it, and if the wind blows, anywhere near the right direction, it blows completely through the screens because it's open on front and back, and you get kind of like a Venturi effect where the wind blowing through sucks some of the air out all by itself, no fan or anything. So that's actually been a good thing. I had a short list of things that I felt were really, really helpful out here. The deep freeze. Awesome. Even when I was running the generator before I had the solar panels, if you start up the generator and run the deep freeze for an hour while you're making your coffee and charging your laptop, and then you shut the generator off, the deep freeze will stay fairly cool until the next day. It's not cold, but it's a heck of a lot better than nothing, and you don't have to go buy ice all the time. All right. I live 15 miles from town, so going in just to buy ice is not really practical. Even though I could probably buy ice on the days I am coming home from work, who wants to buy ice every day just to see it melt, right? And then now, once I got the solar panels and the batteries in place, I can run the deep freeze probably an hour a day off of the solar panels and still have enough power to run the laptop and the coffee maker. All right. On laundry days, I make sure the deep freeze is running the whole time I'm doing laundry so it gets nice and cold. And then I can run it on solar for another hour or two after that. And I've had days I've made ice pretty much on solar alone. My water jugs will get frozen. All right, I'm not making ice cubes. I'm just not quite there. I don't have quite enough power. Now keep in mind, I'm running cheap Harbor Freight panels. I'm not doing a big elaborate system. So you could do a little bit better. I'm just kind of on the edge of being good enough, and so I just leave it alone. I'm not making a lot of money. I'm making land payments for the land out here. I'm trying to get ahead on land payments because I'm about 6 or 7 years, depending on which date I use, from retirement. So my goal is to have the land paid off by the time I retire. So I'm talking earlier retirement. I'm not talking 65 or 70. I'm talking 58 and a half is minimum from the job I have. So if I can keep everything low key, not overspend, not buy too much fancy stuff out here, I can have basically my land paid off and then have the option to retire. So that's something that I'm kind of looking forward to. I've got other things I'd rather do with my time. So, all right. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I've been out here for, like I said, 14 months. This video, I'm in the habit of trying to do a walkthrough video every now and then, just for my own amusement as much as anything. There's been little things in the last month or so that got finished. The water manifold and the new water tank is basically finished in the last couple of weeks. The washing machine has only been in here for 2 weeks now. It was sitting outside in the sand, and every time I'd open it up to use it, it was just full of sand, so you'd have to clean it out. So that's no good, So this way, it's staying clean in here. It's not out in the sand, it's not out in the sun, and it's a lot easier. I'm at the point now, I can walk outside, flip a switch, and I've got running water in 2 different showers and the washing machine. And then I start the generator and I can start my load of laundry and I'm done. It's like, that's the best it's ever been for me out here. I don't have to mess around with rolling hoses out and hooking everything up. It's basically Basically that easy. You start the generator, flip a switch, I got water, and it's working. It's pulling out of the big tank now. That's been a long time coming. I talked a little bit about expansion on the tanks. I don't know if I'm going to have time for it this year, but there's a process called ferro cement. Ferro being iron, basically. Traditional rebar reinforced cement is typically poured forms, fairly thick. The idea behind ferro cement is it's a little more labor intensive. It's hand formed, with trowels, but no forms, where you mix up your concrete a little bit thicker and it's more like a mortar. Basically no gravel, just all sand and concrete. But you mix it up a little bit thicker and then you trowel it over wire reinforcing, like chicken wire or rebar mesh, or both. And you form a tank out of that. And I've seen some videos on this where these guys are making 4 feet, 5 feet tall tanks, and the concrete was like 3 inches thick. So, it seems like, from what I've seen, I think I can make that for a lot less money than that IBC tank I bought, which was like $300, $350, something like that. So if I can spend a few days building a tank and cut my cost way down, that's why I put so many ends out there. Is my goal is to make 2 or 3 small tanks first, get the process figured out. Once I'm comfortable with it, that I'm going to make a wider tank, but not a taller tank. Because I don't need it to be 10 feet high. That builds a lot of pressure and then you might break it. I would rather make a bunch of 4-foot high tanks, and I've got plenty of room out here. So if I make a 4-foot tall tank that's 4-foot radius, 8 feet diameter, that's going to hold a lot of water. I wrote that down somewhere, but it doesn't really matter. I'm talking hundreds of gallons per tank at that rate. So build the tanks, put eave troughs on the bus to catch rainwater, funnel that out to the tanks. I measured and calculated this one time. A 1-inch rain, just what hits the roof of the bus, is enough to do a load of laundry. Okay? That's 1 week. I don't have to drive 15 miles one way over a pretty rough road just to get water to do laundry. That's kind of the way I'm looking at a lot of these things. If I can improvise something out here with what I have, instead of having to drive into my local town or to El Paso to go buy something, or the opposite way to like Van Horn, there's a hardware store there. Well, by the time you jump in the truck, go all the way down the road, buy what you need, and come back, your day is half shot. So it's pretty tough to get anything done on that kind of a schedule. So that's held me back on a lot of things. Just the time, the money of, forget the money of the materials, but the wear and tear on the truck and the money of the gas just driving to go get the things. There's been a few things that I just keep putting off because I just don't want to commit that much time and money to going to get the materials. Now that the water manifold system is set up and working, and also because now I've got the washer and dryer in the bus, my next project was going to be the laundry shed. I had designed just a shed big enough for the washer, dryer, and I was going to put a shower out there because all the plumbing was going to be there. Now that I got the washer in here, I'm going to plumb the shower for in here and tweak that a little bit, move things around. The last part of it, I talked a little bit about the bus remodel. I've got some ideas. I'm not going to get into a lot of details, but the way I'm looking at it right now, because I don't have a lot of extra room, I'm probably going to break the bus into zones. So, left half, quote unquote, driver's side, take all of this out, stack it towards the back, move my laptop, for a little while, probably insulate, rewire, do some proper electrical, which I have not done. All the wires are literally duct taped to the ceiling still, and a lot of the duct tape gets hot and quits sticking. So that's kind of it, is Now that I've been in here for a year, I'm looking at it, well, okay, I've only got a few years before I retire. If I can make the bus a little bit more comfortable, don't spend a lot of money building a house if I can live in the bus. Right? So work on other projects instead. You know, and my goal has always been I would much rather have a nice workshop that I can go out and build stuff in than to have a house. You know, once I'm asleep, I don't really care what the ceiling looks like, kind of thing. It's reasonably comfortable in here. Wintertime, it was very cold. That's why I was sleeping out in the little camper that I built. That was a lot easier to keep warm in. And it actually was fairly comfortable in the summer too. I only moved out of that like this last week or two. So that's not a bad option. I kind of like the idea of it. It's very small if it's, you know, and it's right down on the ground, so it tends to stay warm in there. Comfortable. Bus, not so much. A lot of glass, a lot of steel. So I'm going to work through that a little bit, but when I get to the actual remodel, there will be a bunch of videos on that. I got some pretty neat ideas, stuff most people probably won't do. Not necessarily better, but it's very unique to my situation out here. You'll see it when you see it, kind of thing. Probably this year though. Yeah, the last thing I guess. I've been on YouTube for somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 years. I don't have internet out here, so I can't look it up, but I hadn't thought this part very far through. I hadn't thought this part through. I've been on YouTube for about 10 years. The beginning of this year, so like 6 months ago, I finally hit 100 subscribers. Now, towards the end of June, I'm right on the edge of 250. I think today it was 249. So I've gone from 100 to 249 in 6 months, where the first 100 took me 10 years. Okay. Now, honestly, I didn't have a real platform up until when I moved out here, so I didn't have a lot of videos that I was putting out because I didn't have a lot to share, really. But anyway, I would like to say, though, that I really appreciate the people who have subscribed, have taken the time to watch the videos, and especially the ones who are asking questions and posting comments. I'm learning as much from you guys as you're probably learning from me, so I do appreciate that. And the last thing on the subscriber count, it's very important to someone like me as a quote-unquote new YouTube content creator, because when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm then eligible for the profit sharing program. YouTube is making money off the advertising based on the content that we are creating. Now, I don't have a problem with that at all. It's their platform, and we're very happy that they took the time to build it. But until I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm not eligible to make any money back. So I'm really thankful for anybody who has subscribed, but I realized that out of the people watching my videos, almost 95% of the viewers are not subscribed. If half of you would click on that subscribe button, it would really help me out a lot. I guess my point would be, if you like the videos, if you feel like you'd like to help me out, yes, I do have a Patreon account, but I'm not even really going to push that right now. Rather than me asking for people to go check out my Patreon page, which is there, and I'm pretty sure nobody's really looking at it right now, and that's okay. I would much prefer that people go ahead and click on subscribe. I've got enough people watching my videos that I would be eligible for the profit sharing program from YouTube off the advertising once I hit 1,000 subscribers. So this is basically one of those things where it literally will cost you nothing. Enough people are already watching the videos. I'm doing the work, I'm creating the content. You're doing your part, you're watching the video. My numbers are high enough, I just don't have enough subscribers. So if you've gotten this far, wow, thanks, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. But if you can just take an extra minute, find that red subscribe button and click on it, and share some of my videos. Odds are you probably know people who would be interested in something like this. That would help me out enormously. And when I can start showing income coming from the videos, then I can put more time into them and ultimately get to the point where, if my income surpasses what I'm making on my job, this could be a full-time gig. And at that point, I'd have some really cool ideas that we can share. So I do appreciate all of you taking the time to watch and subscribe and share the videos if you see something that you like, somebody else might like it. At this point, anything that I've shown you, products, tools, none of it is compensated. It's stuff that I bought out of my own pocket. Some of the videos I jokingly will point at the shelf behind me. Let's see. Yeah, it's getting pretty bare right now, but I used to point at chili can. If you're Campbell's and you'd like to sponsor me on the videos, here's my chili can kind of thing. It's 3 days before payday and I'm running out of chili, so hey Campbell's, send me some more chili. That would be great. Anyway, yeah. Stay tuned. I got a lot of cool ideas coming up as I get time. See you then.
Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.